Hi, I'm Dr. Shell of Dr. Shell blog. I want to thank you for allowing me to participate in the Atheist to Facebook online convention. Uh, I'm going to have a photo bomber. I did separate the other photo bomber because it would just be way too distracting to have two of them in here. Um, I have to read some of this and search through a lot of bullet points, and I will try to make this less dry and soporific and academic, if at all possible. Um, for such a common practice, I apologize. The subject of this rather lengthy subject is indoctrination. Um, for a common practice in religion and possibly the military and in professional education, there is a paucity of information on the internet on this subject, although Dr. Darrell Ray has written about this subject. Um, Indoctrination is the authoritative, not necessarily volitional process of enculturation of ideas, attitudes, cognitive strategies, or a professional methodology. It is a process of teaching doctrine, culture, customs, or passing these and ideologies from one person or generation to another. So indoctrination is a process. It's not an entity or a disease. And many people I've noticed have asserted that this may be an unpopular statement, and I've written about this before. This programming process is not a mental illness. Indoctrination and mental illness are entirely different phenomenon. And if anybody wants me to do a separate talk on that, I'm happy to do that. But that's not the subject today. I did want to get that out of the way. To continue, indoctrination means teaching someone to accept a set of beliefs. The term is derived from the Latin word for teach. The root word is doctrina. I didn't go into a lot of the history of it, but I thought that was interesting. The psychologist and author Dr. Darrell Ray uses a viral metaphor for indoctrination. I think this is quite witty and an interesting way of looking at it. If you have the opportunity to read his book, The God Virus, I highly recommend that. Sticking with his God virus metaphor, means and ideas move from one mind or brain to another by communication, verbally, non-verbally, subtly, overtly. This is a construct described by Dr. Richard Dawkins initially and Dr. Ray with respect to religious programming. It's an interesting metaphor. Each religious ideology is largely exchangeable, for example, substituting a religious savior or meme such as Jesus for Muhammad for Buddha, and so on. It's the overview in religion that applies to the viral metaphor. On the subject of childhood, according to Dr. Ray, if both parents are religious, there's a slightly greater than 50% chance of the offspring adopting the beliefs of the parent. Indoctrination is most likely to occur between the ages of 5 to 7 years. I've heard the get them while they're young comment. I've also read the ages of between 4 and 14 years, but the age 5 to 7 years acquisition of knowledge is a survival strategy for children to incorporate vast amounts of knowledge without critically questioning the information. This makes some sense, and for any parents out there, I realize that the children in this age group do ask a lot of questions. I don't know that this is necessarily indicative of critical thinking skills. They may be developing their critical thinking skills at that age group, but it definitely is a process of data gathering in the 5 to 7 age range. That might be a different phenomenon. I don't know. I'm not a developmental expert. People at any age group can be more easily programmed when they're stressed. This makes the military, educational, and some religious areas more simplified. The fallback is usually the religion they were exposed to from ages 5 to 7, statistically. This may account for physicians and the military being very religious. There also might be other explanations. Hard to say. There's another idea, imprinting, that was discovered by and published by Nobel Prize winners in 1973. That is the rapid, irreversible imprinting behavior. Dr. Ray argues that once a person has imprinted to a given religion, he does not easily change religions. The rituals, songs, and ceremonies have a way of sticking with people so that they do not feel complete unless they are in that particular ritual environment. I would argue that this is the case regardless of the ritual environment, as in the military, other indoctrinating environments. On a related topic, such as military educational indoctrination, these can occur in adulthood. It appears that programming is a normal developmental stage. I've previously written about this. Being gullible and easily teachable at young ages serves our survival needs, with youngsters being in a state of dependency. In the military and professional education, this is interdependency, not dependency. The population is older and they are neurologically mature. You neurologically mature between the ages of 21 and 23. I've written about that. You can find that on my blog. In addition, with respect to religion, there are social reinforcements. Bodhi, stop. Let me start over. With respect to religion, there are social reinforcements and other associated supportive aspects that may be affiliated with indoctrinating processes. Let's see, I'm talking about adults here. Lots has been written on the subject of religious indoctrination. Some of the sources are reasonable and reliable. Some of it is speculation, a lot of testimony. It appears that many people are able to overcome the effects later in life with considerable cognitive efforts for belief revision. They may suffer with mood and anxiety consequences. I would also argue that the atheist community is an amazing example of such cognitive efforts. Most of the literature on education revolves around such issues as religious indoctrination. Physician burnout and bullying is documented in the literature, but it does not address programming per se, or not that I can determine. One article alludes to the subject, citing, quote, "Your instructors are suffering from unprocessed grief, probably victims of bullying, trained by wounded doctors. Your enthusiasm, idealism remind them of their loss. They lash out at you," end quote. The Skeptic magazine also cites an example. I'm not going to read that. It's basically citing that med students have no interest or curiosity anything except for suffering through their learning ordeal. I think these are pretty accurate descriptions of the learning environment and professional education, but it doesn't really address the aspects of the programming environment with ritual humiliation and the tearing down of the ego, almost cult-like. With adult phenomenon within the military and professional education, like religious indoctrination, there can be belief revision with cognitive effort and social support. I don't know how much time I've got. There are evolutionary advantages to the process, and there are lots of studies I could cite, but I'll spare you the details. There are twin studies and other statistics. I've written about neurotransmitters, the temporal lobe. One thing I will say about that is there are some religious taboos against all sorts of things, contraceptions, blood transfusions, dietary restrictions. The list goes on and are too numerous to count. You know, at one time in history, these may have been reasonable health concerns and beneficial for the tribe, but programming may have been a byproduct of our evolution. I'll leave it at that in the interest of time. In closing, as I've previously discussed, gullibility is a normal developmental stage prior to maturity. The same may be true with programming adults, although it's unclear as to the mechanism for indoctrination. Belief may be a byproduct of our evolution, as does our propensity to be programmed into various constructs, providing an additional survival strategy. Understanding that indoctrination is a process and a method of enculturation. This involves society. It's a complex process. I'm going to repeat an earlier comment. Indoctrination is a process. It's not a single entity or disease. Indoctrination and mental illness are different phenomenon. Those who are indoctrinated can and do overcome their programming regardless of the system of teaching, association, and encoding of beliefs. Whether it's rapid and stressful or not, as in the case of being raised in a religious family, or other more stressful and rapid situations in adulthood. Revision of programmed beliefs requires cognitive effort for belief revision that has occurred at any age. And lastly, the military and educational programming has minimal reliable sources on the subject. I did wish to mention this topic mainly to raise awareness that with respect to indoctrination, definitely there is religion in our society, but indoctrination can include other constructs other than religion. Thank you for allowing me to participate, and I hope this wasn't too dry, soporific, or academic. Thank you.